Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. This powerful quote reminds us that not every person who comes into our life is meant to stay. Some people are meant to teach us something important, even if it feels painful. Have you ever asked yourself, why was I placed in the life of a narcissist? Was it just bad luck, or was there a deeper reason? Today you're about to find out the truth, and trust me, it will shock you. Maybe you thought you were just unlucky to meet someone who lied, manipulated, and made you doubt yourself. But what if I told you that it was never just about pain? What if I told you that the narcissist was actually a part of your story for a bigger, even more powerful reason? The truth is, some battles are given to the strongest warriors. And the fact that you are even here, searching for answers, means you are stronger than you realize. You didn't just survive, you were chosen to rise higher, to break cycles, and to shine even brighter. Stay with me till the very end because every part of this message was meant for you. This is more than just a story. This is a journey of awakening. Also, don't forget to show some love by joining our community. Together we heal, we grow, and we rise. Drop a heart in the comments, share your story, and be part of a space where your pain is not ignored, but understood. Trust me, you're not alone. And by the end of this, you'll see your life in a way you never have before. Ready? Let's dive deep into the truth you deserve to hear. Sometimes life sends us people who seem to bring more pain than happiness. It feels unfair. It feels confusing. But what if I told you that even the hardest people you meet have a secret purpose in your life? A narcissist often shows up not just to hurt you, but to wake you up from a sleep you didn't even know you were in. Before they came, maybe you trusted too easily. Maybe you always gave more love than you received. Maybe you thought you had to earn love by pleasing others. You lived with these patterns because they felt normal. You didn't see that they were slowly stealing your joy, your confidence, and your voice. The narcissist acts like a storm, shaking everything inside you. At first, it feels like everything is falling apart. You might feel lost, broken, and unsure of who you even are. But deep inside that pain, something important begins to happen. You start seeing things differently. You notice how often you said yes when you really wanted to say no. You realize how you ignored the little voice inside that tried to warn you. You understand that real love doesn't ask you to shrink yourself or walk on eggshells. Here's the hook. Pain wakes up parts of you that comfort never could. Comfort keeps you stuck. Pain pushes you to change, to grow, and to rise. The narcissist forced you to open your eyes. They showed you where you were too trusting, too giving, too soft with people who didn't deserve your heart. They didn't teach you because they cared. They taught you because life used them as a tool for your awakening. It's like life was gently shaking you, whispering, "Wake up, you deserve better." You were never weak for falling into their trap. You were simply living without seeing your true power. Their betrayal didn't break you. It woke you up. Now you are more aware, wiser, and stronger. You can hear your inner voice louder than ever before. You protect your peace. You choose yourself. And that was the real reason they came, to remind you of who you were always meant to be. In life, you meet people who make you feel alive, and others who make you feel small. When you cross paths with a narcissist, something powerful happened. Without even trying, you held up a mirror to them. Through your kindness, your realness, and your ability to truly care, you showed them everything they were missing inside themselves. You didn't have to say anything. Just by being who you are, you made them see the empty spaces in their own heart. Narcissists hide from their true selves. Deep down, they feel unworthy, scared, and broken. They wear fake masks to pretend they are confident and powerful. But when someone like you walks into their life, someone genuine, someone full of real love, they can't handle it. They see in you what they wish they had but don't. Your honesty feels like a bright light shining on all the lies they tell themselves. Your ability to feel deeply reminds them that they are numb inside. Your loyalty reminds them how fake their relationships really are. Here's the hook. The light in you made the darkness in them impossible to hide. Instead of wanting to grow, they chose to attack the mirror. You. They may have criticized you, blamed you, or tried to break your spirit, not because you were wrong, but because facing the truth about themselves was too painful. Hurting you was easier than healing themselves. Remember, it was never your fault. You didn't cause their pain. You just made it harder for them to ignore it. They couldn't stand the reflection they saw when they looked at you. So they tried to shatter the mirror to make the discomfort go away. But here's the beautiful part. Even after everything, you are still standing. Your light is still shining. Their fear of facing themselves only proves how rare and special you truly are. Never dim your kindness, your empathy, or your realness to make broken people comfortable. You are a mirror for truth, and not everyone is brave enough to face it. And that in itself is your quiet, unstoppable power. When someone you trust turns around and betrays you, it can feel like your whole world falls apart. It's easy to believe that something is wrong with you, that you were not good enough, smart enough, pretty enough, or strong enough. But the truth is much different. Their betrayal had nothing to do with you being less. It had everything to do with you needing to remember who you truly are. Before the heartbreak, maybe you tied your worth to how much someone else loved you. Maybe you believed that if you gave more, stayed longer, or forgave faster, they would finally see your value. You forgot that you were already valuable from the very beginning. No one else's approval was ever needed to prove it. Life sometimes teaches us the hardest lessons through the deepest pain. The narcissist's betrayal wasn't a punishment. It was a loud wake-up call, a crash course in self-worth that you could not ignore anymore. Here's the hook. Sometimes the people who break you are the ones who push you toward your greatest healing. They lied, they blamed, they made you question your own heart. But every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of self-doubt was secretly building something strong inside you. You started learning that love doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. You began to see that peace is more valuable than fake promises. You discovered that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Their betrayal cracked open the parts of you that needed healing. It forced you to meet yourself all over again, this time with honesty, kindness, and real love. You started seeing your beauty, your courage, and your strength without needing someone else to clap for you. The more you healed, the more you realized you don't have to fight for a place in someone's heart. The right people will know your worth without being begged. You are enough, always have been, and always will be. Their betrayal did not destroy you, it revealed you. And that, in the end, is the greatest gift they could have ever given without even knowing it. Sometimes we live out patterns without even realizing it. The way we trust, love, forgive, or even stay silent in pain can come from places much deeper than we know. These patterns are often passed down from family, from stories we grew up hearing, and from wounds that were never healed. You didn't create these patterns. They were quietly placed into your hands like a heavy bag you didn't even know you were carrying. You lived thinking this was normal, that loving meant suffering, that forgiveness meant losing yourself, that loyalty meant staying even when it hurt. Then came the narcissist. Their cruelty, their lies, their games didn't just hurt you. They shook something awake inside you. They cracked the surface of all those hidden wounds you were carrying without knowing. Here's the hook. Pain is often the hammer that breaks the chains we were born into. The narcissist wasn't just a person causing problems. They were the trigger that made you finally look at the deeper pain. Suddenly, you saw the old stories playing out. You recognized the way you were taught to accept less. You noticed how many times you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up. You realized how often you chose peace with others while losing peace within yourself. The narcissist wasn't a curse. They were the spark that started your healing journey. Without them, maybe you would have stayed stuck in the same old cycle, repeating the same silent hurt that had lived in your family for generations. But you chose differently. You chose to wake up. You chose to break the pattern. Healing is not easy. It asks you to face pain you didn't cause but still have to carry. It asks you to choose better, even when your heart is tired. But every step you take in healing yourself is a step toward freedom, not just for you, but for everyone who comes after you. You are the cycle breaker. You are the one who decided that the pain ends with you. And even though the path is hard, it is also beautiful. Because through your courage, a new story is being written, one built on truth, strength, and real love. There are parts of yourself you don't always see until life forces you to look deeper. Strength is one of those parts. It lives quietly inside you, sleeping, waiting for the right moment to rise. Before the storm came, you might have thought you were weak. You might have believed you couldn't handle heartbreak, betrayal, or loneliness. You might have even told yourself that you needed others to be okay. But life had a different plan. Life sent the narcissist not just to break you, but to show you the unbreakable parts of yourself. You didn't know how powerful you truly were until surviving them made it clear. At first, it didn't feel like strength at all. It felt like drowning. Every lie they told, every cruel word they spoke, every moment they made you doubt your own worth chipped away at your spirit. It felt like you were losing yourself piece by piece. But what was really happening was something much greater. Inside you, behind the fear, behind the sadness, a fire was starting to burn. A fire that refused to die no matter how much they tried to smother it. Here's the hook. True strength isn't loud and it isn't proud. It's quiet, steady, and it rises strongest in the middle of chaos. While they thought they were tearing you down, they were actually helping you build a foundation you didn't even know you needed. Every time you chose to stand back up after being pushed down, your strength grew. Every time you chose to believe in yourself when they made you doubt, your spirit sharpened. Every time you chose peace over their chaos, your power expanded. The strength you found wasn't born from comfort. It was born from survival. It was born from choosing yourself in a place where you were made to feel invisible. It was born from learning that real power isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling your own peace, your own healing, and your own future. Surviving a narcissist isn't just about getting through the pain. It's about discovering a version of yourself that is wiser, stronger, and more unstoppable than ever before. You didn't just survive them, you transformed because of them. You found the strength to say, enough. You found the courage to walk away. You found the wisdom to protect your heart. And maybe most importantly, you found the truth that you don't need anyone to complete you. You were whole all along. Now when you look in the mirror, you don't just see someone who was hurt. You see someone who survived, someone who conquered, someone who is rewriting their own story. Your strength was never lost. It was hidden beneath layers of fear, waiting for a reason to rise. And now that it's here, nothing can take it away from you again. Sometimes life feels cruel. It gives you people you trust, dreams you build, and then suddenly it snatches them away. You are left hurt, confused, and wondering why things had to fall apart. It feels unfair. It feels personal. But what if the pain you faced was never meant to destroy you? What if it was the universe pulling you away from something small and pushing you towards something greater? Sometimes rejection is not a punishment, it's protection. Sometimes heartbreak is not the end, it's the beginning. When the narcissist betrayed you, it wasn't because you weren't worthy of love. It wasn't because you deserved to suffer. Their cruelty and the loss you felt were brutal, but they were also a hidden gift. The universe saw things you couldn't see. It saw how staying with them would only dim your light. It saw how you were settling for less when you were made for more. So even though it hurt, life stepped in and tore away what was never meant to stay. Here's the hook. Pain is often the universe's way of pulling you out of places you were never meant to shrink in. The things you thought you lost were never really yours. They were lessons. They were stepping stones. Every tear, every broken hope, every sleepless night was shaping you into the person you were always meant to become. Without the rejection, you might have stayed stuck. Without the pain, you might have kept trying to fix what was never your burden to carry. The universe doesn't think in small dreams. It sees your real power, your real future, even when you don't. That's why it sometimes rips you away from people who can't love you right, from jobs that make you feel invisible, from places where your soul is starving. It feels harsh at first, but later when you look back, you realize it was the greatest blessing. You were never rejected. You were redirected. You were being guided toward a destiny filled with real love, true respect, and deep purpose. The people who left weren't meant to walk your whole journey with you. The dreams that crashed were not big enough to hold the real magic inside you. You are not a victim of your story. You are the hero who kept walking, even when the road was dark. Trust the redirection. Trust that every closed door, every lost love, every painful ending was secretly working in your favor. The universe wasn't trying to hurt you, it was trying to save you. And one day, you will look around and realize you didn't lose anything. You found everything. Sometimes, without even realizing it, you become a teacher in someone else's life. Not the kind of teacher who stands in a classroom, but the kind of teacher whose very presence challenges another soul to grow. When you came into the narcissist's life, you didn't just bring your love, kindness, and loyalty. You also brought lessons they were meant to face. You became a mirror, one they were too afraid to look into. You became a reminder of the love they secretly craved but didn't know how to accept. You showed them what real honesty, trust, and connection look like, and deep down, that terrified them. A narcissist spends most of their life hiding. They build walls so tall that even they can't see over them anymore. They bury their real feelings under layers of pride, fear, and anger. Then someone like you walks in, someone whose heart is open and real. Without trying, you shine a light on the places inside them they've spent years trying to hide. You trigger the parts of them they are too scared to heal. Here's the hook. Sometimes your love is so powerful, it forces broken souls to face themselves. And not everyone is ready for that battle. You didn't come into their life to fix them. You came to be a moment of truth, a chance, a wake-up call. Whether they took the lesson or ran from it was never your responsibility. You were assigned to show them something different, something better, something true. Your kindness revealed their cruelty. Your forgiveness exposed their guilt. Your patience uncovered their fear of intimacy. And even though they may have treated you badly, even though they may have blamed you or hurt you, your presence still planted a seed that one day might grow, even if you never see it. You were never weak for loving them. You were strong for standing in front of someone so broken and offering your heart anyway. That is a power few people understand. Being a soul teacher is a heavy assignment. It often comes with pain, rejection, and deep loneliness. But it is also a sacred role. Because even if they don't change right away, even if they fight the lesson with everything they have, your light leaves an imprint on their soul. It reminds them that real love exists. It shows them that another way is possible. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere down their long road, they will remember you and choose a better path because of it. You were never just a victim of their damage. You were a messenger, a light, a lesson. And no matter what they saw or didn't see, you fulfilled your soul's assignment with incredible bravery. When life gets tough and things seem unfair, it's easy to start believing that you're being punished. You might think the universe has it out for you, or that you somehow deserve the pain you're going through. But what if I told you that the struggles you've faced, especially with the narcissist, weren't about punishment at all? What if they were actually about something much bigger? What if everything you've endured was part of your spiritual growth? A way for you to evolve into a higher version of yourself? The pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak, they weren't meant to break you. They were meant to build you. You've been through a lot, and it often feels like the world is testing you in ways that are hard to understand. But sometimes, life doesn't work by the rules we think it should. Instead of doling out punishment, the universe often pushes us through challenges so we can break through old patterns, rise above our fears, and discover parts of ourselves that we didn't even know existed. And while it feels hard, even unfair, those challenges are the very things that help us grow spiritually. Here's the hook. Growth is rarely comfortable, and transformation almost always comes with difficulty. When the narcissist entered your life, it felt like everything was falling apart. It felt like you were losing parts of yourself, pieces you had spent years holding on to. But in reality, what was happening was the universe was breaking down old walls, old patterns, and old beliefs that were no longer serving you. You didn't realize it at the time, but the narcissist was the catalyst for your transformation, the challenge that would push you to become who you were always meant to be. You see, the universe doesn't punish us with suffering, it accelerates us toward our growth. The challenges that come into our lives, no matter how painful, are part of our journey to becoming stronger, wiser, and more connected to who we really are. With the narcissist, you weren't just enduring pain. You were breaking free from limiting beliefs, from the patterns that kept you stuck, and from the way you allowed others to define your worth. You were forced to question everything, and in doing so, you started discovering a deeper version of yourself. The lessons weren't easy, and they weren't fair, but they were necessary. They stripped away the layers of false beliefs, unhealthy attachments, and fears you had about yourself. You were being taught to trust yourself, to honor your needs, and to step into your true power. The pain wasn't punishment. It was the universe's way of guiding you toward a better version of yourself. One who knows their worth, who values their peace, and who will never settle for anything less than what they deserve. So remember this: every painful moment, every tear you shed, every loss you felt was not there to punish you. It was there to propel you forward. You were being accelerated toward your highest self, the version of you that knows their strength, their worth, and their true purpose. Sometimes the hardest lessons in life come from the people who hurt us the most. When you first met the narcissist, you might not have fully realized where your boundaries were or how much you were willing to sacrifice for love, peace, or approval. The narcissist, with their manipulative ways and constant push-pull tactics, forced you to face something you weren't aware of: your lack of boundaries. You didn't even know where to draw the line. You were so focused on keeping the peace or making the relationship work that you forgot one very important thing. Your own needs mattered too. They pushed and prodded, tested and pressured until you found yourself saying yes to things you never wanted to agree to. You put up with things that hurt you because you didn't know how to say no. You allowed their behavior to slide because you didn't realize you deserved better. But in doing so, you gave up parts of yourself. You allowed the lines to blur until they were so faded that you couldn't tell where you ended and they began. It wasn't your fault. You were simply doing what you thought was right: loving, forgiving, compromising. But what you didn't realize was that love without boundaries is not love. It's self-sacrifice. Sometimes the hardest lessons in life are the ones that teach you how to put yourself first. The narcissist wasn't just a lesson in manipulation. They were a painful mirror, reflecting the parts of you that needed to learn how to protect your energy, your heart, and your peace. They exposed the areas in your life where you were too soft, too accommodating, or too afraid to stand up for yourself. You were taught to be kind and giving, but not to your own detriment. It took a painful experience to help you understand that you have the right to say no, and that doing so doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a healthy, strong one. As you started to recognize this, the real work began. Setting boundaries wasn't easy. Saying no felt like a foreign language. You were so used to saying yes that the word felt strange, even selfish. But over time, you began to see that boundaries are not walls to keep people out. They are guidelines that help you protect your emotional space, your mental well-being, and your sense of self-worth. The narcissist's behavior pushed you to this point. They forced you to learn that you deserve respect and that you can't be everything to everyone without losing yourself. And the truth is, learning boundaries the hard way makes them stronger. You now understand the value of your time, your energy, and your love. You understand that saying no isn't rude, it's necessary. The narcissist showed you your limits, and in doing so, they helped you build a new strength. The lessons you learned from this experience are ones that will stay with you forever. And while the pain was real, the growth was invaluable. So remember this: every time you say no, you are choosing yourself. You are choosing peace, self-respect, and a future where you no longer allow anyone to cross your lines. Before the narcissist came into your life, you might have trusted people easily, believed in the good in everyone, and ignored the little whispers in your gut that told you something wasn't right. You might have thought that love meant trusting fully, that forgiveness meant giving second chances without question. But the narcissist, with their manipulation, forced you to sharpen a tool you didn't know you were overlooking: your intuition. You ignored the small signs at first, the little red flags, the gut feelings that something wasn't adding up. You let love blind you, and in doing so, you ignored the warnings that your intuition had been sending all along. But once you went through the manipulation, The mind games, the lies, and the constant emotional roller coaster, you couldn't ignore it anymore. Your instincts had been put to the test, and they came out sharper than ever. The more you faced the narcissist's tricks, the more you learned to listen to that quiet voice inside your head. The manipulation wasn't just painful, it was an awakening. It forced you to pay attention, to trust yourself, and to read between the lines of people's actions rather than just their words. Here's the hook. Pain can be the best teacher when it comes to trusting yourself. The narcissist made you doubt everything: your worth, your thoughts, your feelings. But in doing so, they unknowingly taught you how to trust your gut more than ever before. Every time you ignored a red flag, the consequences became clearer. And soon enough, you learned to spot those red flags from a mile away. You could feel the shift in energy before words were even spoken. You started recognizing toxic patterns and emotional manipulation the moment they began to unfold. Your intuition grew stronger because it had to. It had no choice but to become sharper after the lies, the confusion, and the emotional chaos you endured. This newfound awareness didn't just happen by accident. It was the direct result of the pain you experienced. The more you were manipulated, the more you learned about yourself, about your worth, your emotional needs, and your ability to sense when something was off. Your intuition became a shield, a protective layer that you can now trust, because it's been tested and proven true. Now you can walk into new relationships, friendships, or situations with a stronger sense of what's right and what's wrong for you. You no longer second-guess yourself when something feels off, because you know how to listen to the signals your body's giving you. The narcissist didn't just break you, they helped you become more aware of your inner wisdom. Your intuition was always there, but now it's like a finely tuned instrument, one that will never steer you wrong again. You've learned the hard way, but now you can't unlearn what you've discovered. You've become someone who trusts themselves fully, who no longer lets manipulation go unnoticed. And that is your greatest strength. When you first entered the relationship with the narcissist, you probably gave everything you had. You loved with all your heart, hoped for the best, and tried to help them see the good in themselves. You thought love meant giving, forgiving, and putting someone else's needs before your own. You believed that if you loved them enough, they would change. You thought your compassion could heal their wounds. But as time went on, something changed. The line between loving someone and losing yourself in them began to blur. The more you gave, the less you felt like yourself. The more you tried to understand them, the more you lost your own identity. The narcissist took and took and took without ever giving back. They expected you to be endlessly patient, endlessly understanding, and endlessly giving. But you started to feel drained, exhausted, and empty. What began as compassion turned into self-destruction. You were losing yourself in their world, forgetting who you were and what you needed. Your love for them became a sacrifice, a slow fading of your own soul. Here's the hook. True compassion doesn't mean losing yourself. It means knowing where to draw the line between caring for others and caring for yourself. You were put to the test, and through the pain and confusion, you learned something vital. Compassion has limits. Loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing your own happiness or well-being. At some point, you have to realize that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. You can't pour from an empty cup. Your love for them doesn't mean you have to lose yourself in the process. The narcissist didn't teach you about love. They taught you about boundaries. They showed you what happens when you give too much of yourself away. At first, it felt like love. It felt like sacrifice. But as you began to lose yourself, you learned that love is not about self-destruction. It's about balance. It's about knowing when to give and knowing when to step back and protect your own heart. It's about caring enough to walk away when someone's behavior is no longer healthy for you. The hardest lesson was learning when to stop, when to say enough and finally choose yourself. It wasn't easy, and it didn't come quickly, but you realized that in order to love others, you have to first love yourself. You learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can still be compassionate, but not at the expense of your own peace. Now you understand the difference between loving someone and losing yourself in someone. You know that love isn't about giving everything away until there's nothing left. It's about finding a balance, about caring for others while also taking care of your own heart. You've learned to draw the line between compassion and self-destruction, and that's the most powerful lesson of all. At some point, you might have felt like everything in your life revolved around the narcissist. Their chaos, their needs, their drama, everything seemed to demand your attention. You found yourself constantly trying to fix them, constantly running after their approval, constantly dealing with their emotional storms. It felt like you couldn't breathe, like you were drowning in their world. But in reality, that chaos wasn't just consuming your time and energy. It was holding you back. It was keeping you small, preventing you from stepping into the life you were meant to lead. You were so focused on surviving the ups and downs of the relationship that you lost sight of your bigger dreams. You stopped thinking about your goals, your passions, and the things that made you feel alive. The narcissist's needs became your priority. Their toxic behaviors and manipulation became your reality. You were trapped in a cycle, giving everything you had, only to be left feeling empty and stuck. But all along, the universe was trying to nudge you towards something greater. You were meant for more than just being someone's emotional support. You were meant for a bigger purpose, a purpose that the narcissist's distractions kept you from seeing. Here's the hook. The first step toward your true path often comes when you let go of the things that keep you stuck. Walking away from the narcissist wasn't just about escaping their chaos. It was about freeing yourself to find the person you were always meant to be. It was about breaking free from the patterns that kept you small, from the emotional weight that kept you in a place of constant struggle. Leaving was the moment you made space for your true self to emerge. The narcissist's constant drama kept you in a survival mode. You weren't able to thrive. You were just trying to get through the day. But once you removed yourself from that toxic energy, you created room for clarity, for peace, and for the things that truly matter to you. The moment you stepped away, the noise quieted, and you were able to hear your own voice again. The voice that had been drowned out by their manipulation, their demands, and their emotional games. You started to remember who you really are and what you really want out of life. You started to reconnect with your dreams, your passions, and the future you deserve. Walking away from them was more than just an escape. It was a reclamation. It was the moment you took control of your life again, the moment you chose yourself. That was the first step towards stepping into your bigger purpose, the one you were always meant to fulfill. Now, with the narcissist's chaos behind you, you can walk forward into the life you were destined for. A life filled with meaning, peace, and purpose. So remember this. The moment you walked away was the moment you started walking toward your true path. You weren't just leaving a toxic person behind. You were making room for the greatness that was always waiting for you. When you first entered the relationship with the narcissist, you probably didn't imagine how much you would lose yourself. At the beginning, everything seemed perfect. The charm, the attention, the sweet words. You felt special, seen, and cared for. But over time, something began to shift. Slowly, the toxicity crept in. Their manipulations, their need for control, and their emotional games started taking a toll on you. Yet through it all, there was a small part of you that held on, a part of you that believed things could get better if you just tried hard enough. You kept thinking that staying would somehow lead to the love, the peace, and the fulfillment you were searching for. But the truth is, staying wasn't the goal. Staying wasn't the mission. You weren't meant to stay in a relationship that drained you, diminished your worth, and kept you trapped in a cycle of confusion and pain. Breaking free, that was always the mission. The real victory was not in holding on, but in letting go and finding your way out. The narcissist's world is built on manipulation and control. They keep you in a constant state of emotional chaos, making you feel like you're always on the edge of something, never quite at peace. They blur the lines of reality, making you doubt yourself and question your every move. They feed off your fear, your insecurities, and your need for approval. And through it all, they create this illusion that if you just stay a little longer, everything will get better. They convince you that if you just hold on tight enough, you'll be rewarded for your loyalty, for your patience, and for your unconditional love. But staying in that place doesn't lead to peace. It doesn't lead to happiness. It only keeps you stuck in the same toxic patterns. The mission wasn't to stay in the storm, it was to escape it. Your true victory was not in enduring the storm, but in walking away from it. Breaking free from the narcissist was never easy. It felt impossible at times, as if you were betraying your own heart, as if you were giving up on something that once felt like a dream. But deep down, you knew that staying was only going to keep you small. It was going to keep you trapped in a cycle of emotional exhaustion, self-doubt, and pain. It was going to prevent you from becoming the person you were always meant to be. You were meant to grow, to heal, to step into the person you truly are. And that could never happen while you were holding on to a relationship that was taking so much more than it was giving. The real victory was not in staying loyal to someone who couldn't give you the same in return. The victory was in finding the strength to break free, to walk away, and to choose yourself. You didn't just leave a person behind, you left behind a part of yourself that had been hidden in darkness. You stepped out of the shadows and into your own light. You chose freedom. You chose growth. You chose peace. It wasn't an easy decision, and it didn't come without pain. Letting go of someone you loved, even if that love was toxic, is never easy. But when you break free from that kind of relationship, you start to rebuild yourself. You start to heal from the wounds that have been buried deep within you. You start to rediscover your worth, your voice, and your dreams. The victory is in the transformation that happens once you finally let go and choose to live for yourself. The truth is, staying wasn't the answer. Breaking free was always the real victory. By walking away, you reclaimed your life. You reclaimed your strength. You reclaimed your future. You're no longer a prisoner to their manipulation and control. You are free to live your life on your terms, to chase your dreams, to create the peace and happiness you deserve. So remember this: the moment you broke free, you started the journey to becoming the best version of yourself. And that journey was always meant to be your mission. The pain you went through, the confusion, and the heartbreak, there was a time when it felt like it would swallow you whole. You were trapped in a cycle that felt impossible to escape. The narcissist's manipulation twisted your reality, making you doubt everything you once knew to be true. You may have felt like no one understood, that you were alone in your struggles. But as hard as it may have been, there is a power in your story. What you survived has the potential to heal others. Your journey through this darkness, as painful as it was, has shaped you in a way that no one else can understand unless they've walked through something similar. The emotions, the lessons, and the growth that came from surviving a narcissist's games are not just for you to carry. They are a gift for others who will one day need to hear your truth. The battles you fought and the strength you found will one day serve as a guide for someone else who is lost, confused, and searching for a way out. What you've been through is not just your story, it's a tool for someone else's transformation. Your survival will be the hope they cling to. Your healing will be the light that guides them out of their darkness. The very struggle that felt like it might break you will become the strength that pulls someone else out of their own brokenness. And in sharing your story, you are not only healing yourself, but you are helping others heal as well. The scars you carry aren't marks of weakness. They are symbols of strength. They show that you've endured, that you've learned, and that you've emerged stronger than you ever thought possible. These scars will be the very thing that gives others the courage to keep going when they feel like giving up. They will find hope in your survival, and they will realize that if you can make it through, so can they. So, never underestimate the power of your story. Your experience, your healing, and your growth are not just for you. They are a gift to the world. By sharing your journey, you are giving others the strength to walk their own path of recovery. You are showing them that it's possible to heal, to grow, and to break free from the chains of toxic relationships. Your story is your superpower. It will heal others just as it has healed you. Looking back at the relationship with the narcissist, it may seem like it was nothing but pain and heartache. The emotional manipulation, the confusion, the lies, it felt like it was all designed to break you down, to strip you of your strength and self-worth. You might have asked yourself, why me? Or what did I do to deserve this? It was hard to see through the hurt, but deep down, something bigger was at play. What you thought was a source of pain was actually a spiritual assignment, a test meant to push you toward deep transformation. The narcissist was not placed in your life by accident. As harsh as it may sound, they were a part of your spiritual growth, an essential chapter in your journey to becoming who you were always meant to be. Sometimes the most painful relationships are the ones that hold the key to the deepest parts of our transformation. The universe, or a higher power, places challenges in our path not to destroy us, but to push us toward becoming stronger, wiser, and more aligned with our true selves. At first, it might have seemed impossible to understand why you were going through all the pain. You couldn't see beyond the manipulation, the emotional games, or the constant confusion. It felt like everything was falling apart. But within that chaos, there was a deeper lesson, one that you couldn't see at the time. Every moment of struggle was a call to awaken, to wake up to the parts of yourself that needed healing, to recognize the areas in your life where you had been living out of alignment, and to start living authentically. The narcissist's role in your life wasn't to love you in the way you needed or expected. They were a mirror, showing you the areas where you were still searching for validation, where you were still compromising your own boundaries, and where you needed to step into your own power. The pain you felt was the pressure needed to crack open the parts of you that were still hiding in fear or self-doubt. It wasn't easy, but this deep transformation couldn't have happened without the struggle. Here's the hook. Sometimes the hardest relationships are the ones that teach us the most about ourselves. Through the chaos of the relationship, you were being prepared for something bigger. You were being shaped into someone who could withstand the storms of life with grace and strength. It was through the pain that you were forced to confront your own weaknesses, but also your incredible resilience. You started to realize that the person you thought you were, someone who could be easily manipulated, someone who couldn't say no, was not the person you were meant to be. You began to see your worth, to claim your voice, and to set the boundaries you once feared. The narcissist was a tool for spiritual growth, even if they didn't realize it. They didn't come into your life to love you in the traditional sense. They came to show you the depth of your own strength and to force you to face the things you had been running from. Through this experience, you learned the importance of self-love, self-respect, and self-awareness. You began to understand that true transformation often comes from facing the most difficult trials head-on. By breaking free, you answered the call of this spiritual assignment. You allowed yourself to grow, to heal, and to become the person you were always meant to be. The pain you endured wasn't there to break you. It was there to awaken you. Your soul needed the pressure of that experience to evolve into something greater. Without it, you would not have learned to stand in your own power, to trust your intuition, and to value yourself above all else. So even though it was painful, the hardest relationship was the catalyst for your greatest transformation. The narcissist was a part of your spiritual journey, pushing you toward healing and awakening. The pain you felt was not a punishment. It was a necessary part of your growth. And now as you move forward, you carry the lessons of that transformation with you, stronger and more aligned with your true path. When you first entered the relationship with the narcissist, you probably never imagined the depth of the challenge ahead. At first, it felt like love, the charm, the attention, the feeling of being chosen. But soon, the manipulation and emotional chaos took over, and you found yourself trapped in a cycle of confusion, self-doubt, and constant emotional upheaval. There were days when you questioned your own sanity, wondering if you were strong enough to keep going. It felt like you were losing yourself, like you were fighting an invisible battle that no one else could understand. But here's the truth. You were chosen because you could handle it. Not everyone can survive a narcissist's grip. The manipulation, the gaslighting, and the emotional abuse are designed to break a person down, to make them doubt their worth, their reality, and even their own identity. The narcissist's goal is to wear you down, to make you believe you are small, powerless, and incapable of standing up for yourself. But you didn't break. You didn't give up. That is not weakness. It's extraordinary strength. The universe doesn't give us challenges we aren't equipped to face, even if it feels like we're drowning in the process. You were chosen for this experience because deep down, you have a strength inside of you that you didn't even know existed. The narcissist might have tried to break you, But instead, they pushed you toward discovering a resilience that was always inside of you, waiting to be unlocked. You were stronger than you realized, and through surviving this toxic relationship, you learned just how powerful you truly are. Here's the hook. Your survival isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to your incredible inner strength. Every time the narcissist pushed you down, you found a way to get back up. Every time they tried to control you, you found a way to reclaim your voice, your power, and your truth. It wasn't easy and it didn't happen overnight, but you kept going. You kept surviving. And with each day that passed, you grew stronger, wiser, and more aware of your own worth. What you experienced with the narcissist was not something everyone could endure. You were tested in ways that most people would never imagine, but you came through it. That kind of strength is not common, it's extraordinary. It's the kind of strength that only someone with a deep, unshakable soul possesses. And while the journey may have been painful, it was through those struggles that you were refined, like gold being purified in fire. You didn't just survive, you thrived. You came out on the other side with more wisdom, more clarity, and more understanding of yourself than ever before. This experience didn't break you, it made you. It revealed your capacity for resilience, for love, and for standing up for what you deserve. You learned how to set boundaries, how to trust your instincts, and how to honor your own worth. And through it all, you discovered that you are far more powerful than you ever gave yourself credit for. The narcissists may have thought they could control you, manipulate you, and break your spirit, but they underestimated you. You were chosen for this journey because you were strong enough to handle it. The battles you faced, the pain you endured, were all part of a process of growth and transformation. And now as you stand on the other side, you realize that you are not a victim. You are a warrior. You are a survivor. And your strength is nothing short of extraordinary. So the next time you look back at what you went through, don't see it as a mark of weakness. See it for what it truly is, a testament to your incredible strength. You were chosen because you could handle it, and now you know just how powerful you truly are.